Many of you know that we are excited to be getting into a new, larger space later on this year. And we got word yesterday that our building permit will be ready tomorrow. So that's exciting. Yeah. If any of you have ever been through any kind of building project, even like a shed in your backyard, you know what it takes to get a building permit. So imagine what it's like for this kind of a project. So we'll have that on Monday, and that's a huge milestone. So then demo and construction should begin within probably a month or so. Because this is not a new building, but rather sort of an existing big, ugly box that we're fixing up, and let me tell you, it is ugly. It is ugly. But we're going to fix it up and make it great. But because it's just an existing room that we're fixing up and making great again, the timeline for construction is a lot shorter than in a brand new building. It's about 6 to 7 months. What that means is that if things go well, we should be in the new building by Christmas. That's what we're shooting for. That's what we're praying for. I'd ask you to be praying about that as well, that all the details go well, the construction goes well, so that we can be in there by the end of this year, ready for Christmas. Now, you might remember the video that we showed you back in October that gave you just an early preview of the new building. And you might even seen the detailed sketches that we put on our website. You might have looked at those on there. Well, over the last 6 months, we've been working hard with our architect and our builder on designing a phase 1 that both meets our initial needs and stays on budget. And I think we've done that well. So our new building is located just a few miles from here. If you haven't seen it, it's over on Route 50. It's got 1,000 parking spaces in front of it. We're purchasing this box here that you'll see called out in blue, and it's bigger than it looks from the front because it kind of loops in behind a couple other stores. So it's kind of deceivingly small from the front, but it's actually quite large. The space that we're buying is nearly 80,000 square feet. For comparison, that is not quite 4 times the size of this Oakland building. So it's a big space. Now, we've master planned the whole space with an architect to make sure that it meets not just our initial needs, but our long-term needs, and has a lot of flexibility built in there. But for phase 1, we're only going to be renovating 46,000 square feet. Have you ever seen that show on HGTV, The Property Brothers, right? And what do they always say? They say, this is what you want, this is what you can afford, right? We've had a lot of those moments along the way as we seek to be good stewards and make wise financial decisions. And really, I think that's what the gospel calls us to in the midst of building projects, right? So, all right, let me show you what 46,000 square feet looks like as we take a look at what we're renovating in phase 1. Now, you see that we have a lot of space left over, giving us lots of flexibility for the future. So what does 46,000 square feet get you exactly? I'm going to walk you through the building real quick, space by space. So we'll start in the lobby areas. You're going to walk in from the parking lot into a large lobby that is a little more than 3 times the size of our current lobby here in Oakland. We're a church that loves to hang out in our lobby spaces and drink coffee and have conversation before and after the gathering, sometimes during the gathering. Sometimes there's a bunch of seats in the sanctuary, in the lobby during the gatherings because we ran out of seats in here. So we wanted a big lobby space, and we've got that in this new building, and I think we're going to be able to do that kind of the lobby side of community even better than we have been able to before. It'll give us lots of room to do that in that space. Here in the main lobby, you're going to find a number of things kind of shooting off of it. You'll find the bathrooms there. You'll find the coffee bar there in the lobby. You'll find kids check-in. And you'll also find access to an adult education space that we'll add in a later phase. Now, on the kids' side of the building, you're going to find lots of room for Mosaic Kids. In phase 1, you're going to see 15 classrooms, which will give us room for more than 350 children per gathering. And that's a huge increase over what we have right now. And then you'll see all the unfinished space behind the kids' space. Well, that's almost all expansion space for Mosaic Kids. So we're going to have a lot of room for later phases, for more classrooms, a better check-in area, and maybe even a gymnasium space. Again, we're just trying to stay flexible and see what the needs are as we go along. Go across the hallway into the sanctuary, and you're going to find a room that is designed for 1,200 seats in a very generous configuration. This room here in Oakland has gotten pretty packed, right? Like you're not supposed to have the row right there. You're supposed to be able to cross your legs, like when you sit in a chair, which you can't do here. Like that's not happening. And so this new space is going to be the opposite of that. You'll actually be able to like sit down in your chair, and your knees won't touch the chair in front of you. Crazy idea, I know. So this new room is much wider than this room here in Oakland, but it's actually only about 25 feet deeper than this space, which means that even though it is a large space, you're never going to be too far from the stage, and it'll still feel kind of intimate in the midst of a large space. So that is the 46,000 square feet that we'll build out in phase 1. And then here is the remaining square footage that we'll build out over time as needs and finances allow. And that is kind of your new building overview. Now, looking at an architectural plan is helpful, but sometimes it can be hard to really get a sense of how that space feels by just looking at like lines on a drawing, right? So thankfully, we have a guy here at Mosaic who specializes in creating those really awesome 3D renderings of new buildings, and he donated his time to create some awesome images for us so we can get a sense of how this space feels. Now, don't worry too much about the details here. Like if you see a plant, like why is that plant there? Or I don't like the color of that wall. Don't worry about those details right now. This is really just meant to show you how the space feels, specifically the lobby and the sanctuary space. He's working on some other images of the kids' space, and we'll come back and we'll show you those at a later date. But for now, you'll get a sense of lobby and sanctuary and just kind of see how the space feels. We're going to watch this 1-minute video, and then Renault's going to come and unpack the next passage in 2 Corinthians for us. But as you watch this video, just remember this one thing. This is just a building, okay? That's all it is. It is not the mission. It's a tool for mission. We don't want to ever get married to our buildings or fall too much in love with our buildings. They're just tools to use for ministry. Exciting, sure, but just a tool. Let's go ahead and take a look at this.
That is an exciting thing to see. I mean, there's no doubt there's a lot of excitement about what God is providing for us in the journey that we have. It's going to be exciting for me to be able to say to my wife, I actually saw you in service today, because she always sits in the front row and I never look down like this, right? I mean, who does that, right? So there's a lot of exciting things about it. There's a lot of exciting things about the ministry we're going to be able to do in the kids' spaces, the lobby spaces, the adult spaces, the sanctuary space. All of that stuff is awesome. And at the same time, there is some righteous fear that comes with this. Because when churches have heart and soul and they expand to a place where growth is fast and buildings get big, there is always the opportunity and the chance that the heart and soul is lost in that they get caught up in the wonder of being marked by the size of their buildings and marked by the excellence of their programs. And we have been in a space where that righteous fear has been part of our story the last 6 months. As we're watching all this happen, and we go, God, we never want to lose the reality of who we are and who we want to be in you. How are we going to do that? And it has been extraordinary for me to watch God in tangible ways answer and demonstrate His commitment to making sure we stay the course that He's called us.